0-6 on day one. Didn't like OG have a terrible day
OG at TI.
They went 0-6 on day one?
They barely made upper bracket by like running a 6-0 and going 8-8 or something in the group stage.
So it is completely okay for a team to have a rough or even terrible day one. Obviously, it means you have got to get those wins back, but it's not necessarily. It's what's the better thing to do is look at how they're playing, which from what we saw in that game is like, okay, they're playing good Dota. Yeah. They're not looking like a team where you're like, it's a little worrying. I mean, there's some teams I think where we haven't seen that same like high level play at times, and there's some teams playing with a stand-in like Aster. I have a lot of concerns about because they have got a last minute stand-in. For T1, it's like they've got their team here. They're playing good Dota. Maybe they need to refine some things, figure out their strategies.
We mentioned so much about team fights and like little things that went the way of EG instead of T1, but the fact is they had a 6K lead, and they went for the Roche, got forced out because Tide managed to respawn, and then they just took it for free as EG because T1 had used all their ultimates on the first team fight. And handing an Aegis to a hero like Troll against Doom, I think that allowed Arteezy to like get the farm he needed to get back in the game and actually dish out enough damage and also like feel comfortable on the map. So like even that play alone, I think if you remove that, they probably would have won that game, which, it seems easy to say that in Dota. There's a lot of things that happen like that, but I really do think T1 was one or two things going their way from winning that game.
Alrighty, well, we've got ourselves a game to draft as we slowly try and figure out what is the TI meta. We've mentioned some of the big heroes at various times, the Weavers, the Monkeys, the Tiny, which is still in the pool, but, this is still early days. There's still a lot to be discovered when it comes to the TI meta.
I was going to say EG first picked Tiny in their series earlier, so I don't think they're going to stray away from that now. Arteezy legit has played this probably 30 times of this patch in his pubs. Earlier, so I don't think they're going to stray away from that now.
Learn it.
Arteezy legit has played this probably 30 times of this patch, and Tiny isn't the traditional split push. I don't think they're going to stray away from that now.
If you leave him alone on a tower,
legit has played this probably 30 times of this patch. Like if you're trying to group up the traditional siege high ground, but Tiny, if you leave him alone on a tower, he probably 30 times split patch. So if you're trying to actually respond to this with a tree. I don't know if that's the intent of stopping the tower push aspect or setting up on Tiny in the side lane. So the way that Arteezy plays it is that he clears creep waves, and a lot of flash farming hard carries will go from creep wave to creep camp, back and forth, looking to accelerate the GPM. But because Tiny has so much kill threat, and he also doesn't want to get initiated onto because of how much kill threat he has if he jumps you, he plays a lot in the trees on the side of the lanes. And I think Tree is probably the best hero in the game to catch this in order to set it up, right? And then IO to follow you up with whatever carry you have. So T1's approach to this is like directly addressing, they're assuming that this is an Arteezy Tiny. And I think it's a really cool, like I liked their conceptual approach to the IO last game with the Snapfire ET. And they've got they had a clear plan, honestly. I like it a lot.
Something as far as T1 goes that we're seeing again, which I'm curious to hear your thoughts, is they're picking their support to it. First two. They did it last game, they're doing it again here. And it feels like EG has a very different idea where they're generally picking at least one of their cores in the first stage.
It might be two cores here. Probably is two cores for EG. That's in the past I've heard captains talk about two supports early, even though in pubs you often get your two supports at the start of the draft. It can be really dangerous because a lot of core heroes, they feel really good if you see both supports. Because like right now, for instance, if you're a carry, that if you buy Manta on EG, you'll feel good. Yes, they've already got Tiny. I'm just giving an example because like neither IO or Tree does anything to a Manta carrier. And most of the Manta carriers can find the IO, so something like the Spectre, right? Yeah. So it can be dangerous, but I think if they've picked their carry, it doesn't matter as much because the carry role punishes the support picks first, I think, the most. It is interesting, though. Both healing defensive supports, but yet they have a lot of map presence, which is odd when you think about it that way.
I'm curious to see where T1 head with this.
I think Gyro.
It has been the go-to, other than last game with EG. But yes, there's been at least like 4, maybe 5 IO gyros so far.
It's just good against Lycan too. You got the flat cannon for the Zoo. It's not terrible against Tiny. The Tiny combo, he combos you down to like 20%. You Satanic back up.
Yep. Something I really like that Fnatic did, and T1 have done multiple times, is Night Stalker, but into the Lycan, the Shard, being able to eat the Ancient creep. It's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. The Sven would probably be good, too, for T1. They definitely need an AoE carry, right? And they've elected to ban the Troll Medusa as the two that they think are the most troublesome.
Yep.
And Razor is probably more of a mid-hero they're concerned about, but it definitely removes Tiny from the game if he gets that static link off on you.
Well, T1 thinking things through heavily now on their 5th ban. They're going in deep into that reserve time. Probably also thinking about what their picks might be. And so they're going to be going right into it. So they ban out the AA. Double healing supports obviously makes a lot of sense.
Gyro. That says Gyro so hard.
Yep.
Evil geniuses turn to pick
Axe.
Oh.
I don't think Axe is very good against Tiny for like on paper. I haven't actually played the matchup though, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Is it still the carry axe we see these days? It was
No. It's definitely off lane. That stuff's dead. I don't think you can run that anymore with the Manta Shard build being not what it is anymore. The Shard is now, I think, every time you counter Helix, you cause damage reduction. I think that's like you make the person do less damage. I believe that's what it is. Let me just confirm this. It applies a stacking debuff for 6 seconds of minus 20% attack damage.
Okay.
So I imagine it stacks probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. And then it also increases your chance after.
Yeah, it increases your chance for counter Helix.
But
the old one, for people who weren't here throughout the year, made it so you attacked your attacks countered or procced counter Helix. So people would be going Manta Shard. Your illusions would also proc it, and you can pretty much kill people full to 0.
Seeing Axe being like one of the best hard carries in the game, and it was one of those things where I would see and be like, oh, they're looking to maybe play fast and early, but no, the hero would actually scale like 50, 60 minutes.
Yeah, it was pure. The thing is, Spin is now pure damage, so there was no counter to it if you were like a Terrorblade, for instance, with high armor. And Witch Doctor, really nice against all of these lane cutters. Anybody who relies on backlining cutting the waves and then barely escaping because they have like that extra tankiness from a Vanguard. It was pure. The thing is, he just makes it so Spin is now pure damage on you with a rotation from either your 4 or your mid. And Tiny is a carry that's great at helping. And Witch Doctor really nice against. And that's why I was a bit concerned about the Axe. I like picking Axe when the opponent carry isn't gonna go mess with you. You know, you're gonna go cut the creeps. And you're expecting them to just be content getting their farm underneath their tower. Something like a PA or like a Slark who doesn't want to go on you because they'll take more damage from the spin than they actually dish out. But in this case, Tiny, like most of his damage is pretty far range. The tree gives you 350 attack range. I don't think you're within range of spin when you do that. So I'm a little nervous for them here with this Axe pick. Axe is a feast or famine offlaner. He forces you to attack him, so if he's behind, you just kind of die.
Yeah.
But there's the Gyro.
It felt like they're trying to do maybe a bit of what EG did to them, where it's like, okay, this IO plus tanky pesky offlaner, let's like try and really bully the lane. But that's where EG, I think that plays into EG's strength. They're like, okay, you want to pick a strong lane? We'll pick a strong lane too. We're gonna get Witch Doctor. Like EG know how to play these strong laning stage games, but we'll see if T1 can execute it, because that is potentially going to be a make or break kind of part of this game, is how that laning stage goes for this Axe.
I am super skeptical of the Axe, and I love being wrong because that means I learned something. We don't highlight the fact that I'm wrong. We highlight the fact that I learned something. That's the important part. But the Axe itself, I just think Tiny will, like, yes, Tiny has 0 base armor, so he can kind of get prone to be ran at, but Witch Doctor is one of the best, like, don't run at my carry supports. You can either go for the Voodoo Restoration or just the Maledict cast combo. And then Tiny actually protects his 5 really well compared to other carries. So Axe usually feasts on the 5 by battle hungering them. And it doesn't seem like he's going to have that option in this game. But maybe with the IO sustain, he'll be able to rush a Vanguard with like very few items, which will allow him to get to that threshold of not actually being threatened. I want to see EG pick like a Leshrac. What else comes to mind? Like a Pugna. Just a hero that once they get 6, rotates to the Axe's lane and just kills them. Like very easily, you know, very low investment.
So like heavy magic damage is what I'm kind of hearing between those heroes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking for them. They have decent lockdown, but they probably need a playmaker. They actually banned the Morph, so they really think this is a mid-Tiny. I see no reason for EG to rotate this Tiny, unless I really don't understand this Axe-Tiny matchup that on paper seems okay.
Maybe it's, I mean, it is okay, but just, you know, morphling into Gyra and morphling into Axe, I feel like that was one of the heroes that had more success against
5 seconds
Axe
remaining.
playing the offlane just always.
It's good for its own game, but it's not good at shutting down the Axe's game, if that makes sense. The Axe would be able to cut creeps against the Morph. But yes, the against the Gyro is a good point. I think that's just too much. The flat cannon with Morph is terrifying.
Yeah. I feel like all these IO Gyro games, it's like, all right, we got the IO Gyro now, just ban Morph. It's like you're just following your checklist, regardless of what they have.
I like the Kunkka ban from EG. Definitely seeing Carl play that. It's just nice against Lycan to have another convenient way to clear the summons.
Yeah.
T1
EG is going to pick first
ban.
here. I guess Doom can target Ancients when he gets the level 15 talent, similar to Nightstalker Shard. I think they're pretty much gearing up 100% for something that's going to counter the Lycan, which T1 has been doing the Nightstalker, but that would mean that the Axe is mid or something, which I don't think they'll do.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too great. The puck from game 1's still in the pool, but
Invoker would have been great. Very annoying for Axe. The Cold Snap plus Earn, Quaswex.
Yep.
Great hero for rotating on the Axe when he's
10
cutting.
seconds
They
remaining.
need that hero, 100%. I want to see this hero and be like, that guy's going to rotate and kill Axe.
5 seconds
6
remaining.
minutes into the game.
one hero we haven't talked about, Mirana. Crit playing the Mirana.
Turn to pick.
You happy to see that?
There it is. That makes so much sense to me, the Ember Spirit, out of all the heroes, because out of every hero that rotates and kills Axe, Chain's Arrow, baby. That's like, that's as a tale as old as time, that one. That's a classic. When they picked the Mirana, they actually didn't have very good setup. So this explains a lot.
5
They had something. They had this in mind, clearly. I think they might have been planning this the entire time, with based on the fact that they had no setup.
Well, now Carl gets 5 seconds. They have no reserve time at all to figure out what he wants to play mid against the Ember, and it's going to be the Bat Rider, a last pick Bat too.
Wow.
Should be going mid, and that could be a tough matchup for Abed, I feel.
This is going to be an insanely snowbally game, because
One way or the other. No.
yes, one way or the other. The thing about Ember and Bat is they're both heroes that if their hero can sit on top of creeps, Bat with Firefly on, Ember with Flame Guard on, and like push the wave and then go invade after that, they just like take over the entire map, right? Bat especially once he gets Boots of Travel. Ember usually when he gets like Orb of Corrosion plus Maelstrom or just like some damage item that pushes him over the edge. And whichever hero is able to do that is going to take over the game. The thing about Bat that's interesting is all of his individual matchups here are really good. But if he gets like Maledicted or just runs into like 4 creeps and gets chained, he's going to die. So he needs to have like Boots of Travel BKB to be the potent threat that he needs to be. But if he gets to that point where he's allowed to Firefly into somebody and just like nobody has a way to remove Sticky Napalm, which is the way that Bat Rider does all of his damage. And he will be dishing out metric tons of damage. So that's plenty of space for T1 or 23 Savage on T1. That hero farms insanely fast. Gyro is one of the fastest farmers in the game. If they get to that point where Bat Rider can freely roam, I can't really see what EG can do about it. But then on the other side, the Ember Spirit threatens the same thing with Tiny farming on the backside. So the carries are going to be at the hands of their mid laners.
It sounds like you're pretty happy with both teams' drafts and how they rounded things out. So.
Yes, both teams got the necessary tools. I'm mainly concerned about Cuckoo, honestly. I think Axe could really struggle. I wonder if they're going to do something fancy to enable him in the first minute or two just to get off to the start that he needs.
Yeah, and that's really one of those like TI meta questions. Like, it's like, is Axe viable right now? Like, can you play this hero? It's just something that hasn't really popped up, hasn't felt that good. I've, been following all of the pro player pubs, and I have not seen much Axe, so time to find out.
I'm telling you, Witch Doctor is like the most griefing 5 for a hero like Axe. Like, as Axe, if I play against Witch Doctor, it just sucks, man. Like, if I've seen somebody already pick Axe and I haven't picked 5 yet, the Witch Doctor, you just love it, because you're like, my job in this game is for him to call somebody, and I'm just going to maledict him, and he's going to feel really bad, even if he survives the initial onslaught of damage, because he will tick down to it.
30 seconds to battle.
What's the WTF?
I'm curious too. What's that about? Good luck. Oh, Abeng. I think he's.
I guess that's some slang or something.
I think. Well, there's another SEA Dota player called Abeng. Maybe.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's what it's about. I don't know. He's not here at TI, but there is a Filipino player called Abeng.
Ah, I see.
But not entirely sure. It looks like T1, they sent 4 heroes top. It feels like they're trying to maybe get the right lanes or something, but now it does look like Axe is headed towards bottom.
They're going standard.
Is Arteezy denying a bounty rune? Oh, sorry, Ice, he's playing the Lycan, not Arteezy. Cheeky little play as EG get 2 out of the 3 picked up bounty runes.
I believe T1 is bracing themselves for this bottom lane as I look at Cuckoo's items as well as Zephyr's.
This is me. Every time I watch ISSI stream, he plays offlane, he just goes Bracer first item. It's like, regardless of hero. He wasn't even playing a strength hero to buy Bracer. I was surprised last game on Tide, I was like, okay, where's the Bracer, ISSI?
Yeah, it's interesting because he had the IO that game too, you know?
Yeah.
So you think if they're going for the sustain lane, their idea was headdress with him going damage items on Tide, while T1's got a similar duo, and their idea was double Bracer.
We'll see how this lane unravels as Fly going for the level 1 Voodoo Restoration, triple Mango Clarity, so they're going to have all kinds of... It's sustain against sustain, and we saw last game how good the Eye can be. Top lane, Ice just gets poked down. First blood goes the way of 23 Savage.
He did miss a few creeps under tower, but Whiteman's actually going to do a great job here of dragging the creeps back outside of tower such that the lane is not going to push.
Nice.
There is a creep drag behind tower by Crit, though. So a little bit of shenanigans going on from both sides.
Yeah.
A little lane creep equilibrium manipulation.
And those denies they're not getting back here as bottom lane Arteezy goes in with the cask on a Cuckoo. The tether sustain, he salves himself and then loses it. So a lost salve there from Zephyr. As Cuckoo just going to try to tango himself back up. A big wave pushing in towards him though.
This is one of the best ways to deter aggression in the early game. By intentionally shoving the lane into their tier 1 like this. It's going to set up the pull of the small camp by Fly, and it allows Arteezy to be by himself because for the majority of the time that he was alone, the offlane duo were both level 1, but now that they're both level 2, he's going to back off a little bit. Lane's going to be reset, and IO Axe, like we were talking about how aggressive this lane sounds like it wants to be, and they're just not going to be able to do that super early because of the fact that EG shoved the lane so hard.
Interesting crit. A lot of roaming from his Mirana, poking around the mid lane, maybe looking for some couriers, looking for an arrow with the Searing Chain set up, or just to deny some water runes. So very active from him early on, feeling like Ice can just do fine on his own on the offlane Lycan.
Yeah, as long as the lane's near Ice's tower or even remotely close. The thing about Lycan as an offlaner is he doesn't help the forward. You know, what does he do to make you more powerful? And usually if that's like a question you can ask yourself and the answer is just nothing, then the forward position can just leave.
Oh, he's going in. He's got a third courier. He got one earlier on. He's going to get 2 down bottom.
That's a lot of gold. That's 300 gold between the 2 couriers for his entire team across the board. So
yeah.
that is not to be underestimated.
I mean, yeah, especially this early on. That's looking at a couple of creeps per player. Nice little find for him. Abed, the Flame Grate should be okay here. As Carl just, you know, doesn't want to play too aggressive when Crit's been missing from the map so often. You get hit by an arrow onto a tower or something, and suddenly things can quickly turn around on you.
Oh, I didn't even notice the skill build from Abed. It's 2-2-0. With the arrow set up on mid lane, narrowly dodging it. That would have been a disaster.
Mentioned how this could be a bit of a tough one for the Axe. He's done fine so far in terms of last hits. He's getting pressured a bit by the damage output of the Tiny. No points in the Maledict to worry about, though.
But the benefit of the IO is that he didn't have to buy himself a bunch of regen, which means he was able to rush the Ring of Health. And thus, if he can get to that Vanguard without dying, his game will be smooth sailing, at least for the time until he gets his blink. But salve used.
Yep. I mean, that seems that's good for them. I mean, if you're burning through Arteezy's mana pool, suddenly that kill threat goes away.
Yeah, he doesn't have any stick charges, so that is one of the last times he'll be able to use that avalanche.
It's like T1 finally getting a bit fed up with Crit's shenanigans, trying to keep tabs of him a bit more. Tree and Protector rotating in to say enough is enough.
So he is going for the stats build on 23 Savage.
Mid lane, I believe that was the Searing Chain's arrow.
He was underneath his own tower, though. A lot of extra armor.
As the Bottle Fairy Fire, so yeah, he seems to be in too much danger, but they are still playing around this one, and Crit Bottle charges between the right clicks. He's going to turn around and get the kill on the Mirana. Is there a Sleight of Fist? Ooh, just out of range. That was close.
That is deja vu. We saw that in one of our games earlier.
Yeah.
It was nothing to say diving Quinn and going for the Sleight of Fist, and it misses by like an inch. Meanwhile, Ice does drop top.
Yeah.
He's going for the stats build on Gyro, though. It was quite a hot build last patch that fell out of favor, and then they nerfed Flat Cannon to be more mana at higher levels. So people felt like most games, unless they have the IO with the Gyro in lane, that they didn't have enough mana to cast Flak and Rocket Barrage now. So people are going back to the stat build. The idea is that you're playing like a Dusa for the first 20 minutes of the game, and eventually you'll be a Gyrocopter. But that's what people have been doing, and it makes sense against Lycan. His sole job as a Gyro this game is to allow his bat and axe to be aggressive and defend his tower against the Lycan as long as possible.
6-mate rune coming up. Both sides want it. Crit trying to secure it top. It spawns elsewhere, and he's going to look to leap away.
He's only got one leap
charge.
left.
Yeah, getting slowed down here, but does get some help. A Lycan Wolf coming on over. Imagine it was thinking, okay, I got some backup, got some body blocks if you need it. But it was a DD rune, I believe, that spawned bottom.
23 Savage is the one living the dream, though. 38 CS, absolute free farm. Lycan's not looking to pressure him anytime soon, so he can just honestly, the tree can just spend all of his time stacking. Whitemon just gonna play for the efficiency game.
17 denies. So TZ keeping up in terms of the CS, 34 on the Tiny, so still having both sides carries having a good game, but that really speaks to how tough this game has been for Ice's Lycan. And it doesn't feel like the decision that roam around in this Mirana has really paid off for EG. He did get those couriers, but outside of that, hasn't found those kills with the Searing Chains.
Yeah, the awkwardness is there wasn't much to do top for Crit, so he kind of had to go all in on getting something done mid, and like you said, that just hasn't happened. That narrow escape by Carl may not seem like much, because all they lost was a Mirana, but he's been dedicating pretty much all of his resources in terms of lane impact to this mid lane. So the fact that, like, what we're seeing that death cause is the net worth disparity between Arteezy and 23 Savage, because 23 Savage is not spending any resources combating heroes, which means all of his mana, all of his itemization is geared towards accelerating his farm. He's spending flat cannons to farm, he's buying items that make his flat cannon do more damage, and we're going to see the first lasso come out.
Yep. Just the support kill, but
that's fine with me.
Throw it out, yep. I mean, not killing an Ember when he's got those Remnant charges, so...
You don't feel the need to kill Ember because he has gone for the Sleight of Fist Chains build. You can play for the efficiency game on the Batrider because you will farm faster than him if you're not killing each other.
Okay.
Which he's going to do. He's going to stack it up, going to get an Invis rune, probably just going to use it for mana. 23 Savage. Going for the Crystallis, the casual Crystallis, but for the Axe. Feels pretty good. 35 damage for... like, if you're ignoring the crit because the crit doesn't apply to your flat cannon, for 1,900 gold. It's honestly very cost-effective.
See how long he can stick around this top lane, as it does look like EG are considering a bit of a movement towards it. 3 heroes headed on up there. They're going to find Whitemon instead.
Crit's not on point this game.
Yeah.
He needs to spam more of that really cool keep a PMA line, I think, that he's got. Seems to be a little bit flustered with this arrow casting.
Yeah, correlates arrow accuracy.
Yeah, it makes precision go up.
Not a hero who's particularly well known for, the Mirana. Like, I think of like the NADPC, there was a lot of Quincy crew, MSS loved to play the Mirana, but not a hero that we saw crit on all that often.
Yeah, Moon Meander also likes Mirana a lot as well. But Crit's more of the Tusks, the Earth Spirits.
Yep.
On the other hand, this is like right up T1's alley of support. It's like the way they play the map and the idea of like babysitting the map for their cores. You know, just we're gonna protect towers. We're going to play our own game, farm up our own items. You see Carl jungling, and you see 23 Savage jungling while the supports defend their towers. This is par for the course for
Yeah.
T1.
Yeah, they love giving Cuckoo these good games. So he's such a high impact player. I mean, he's a mid laner who switched to the off laner, and if he can have a good game, I feel like a lot of T1's success is kind of tied to him. Even though the overall big game plan is to, let 23 Savage farm and play for the late game.
They are splitting Ancients, though. Carl, or normally 23 Savage would want these Ancients, but Bat Rider nowadays can farm Ancients. He is going to spend his time sticking those things up.
Yep.
Should have to get 10 holes charges before he can Firefly, because his Firefly is only level 1.
And even though he didn't die mid, he did get pushed out of the lane. He's a full level behind Abed, who is, level 8 and a half. So he needs this farm as well as XP, it feels like. Even though the Ember doesn't have the